had such a focus in recent years on learning and learning stuff and learning facts and learning knowledge, and not that that's not important, but I worry that the actual process of getting children to think for themselves, to think deeply, to think creatively, to think critically, has been shoved to one side, along with things like, I don't know, personal learning and thinking skills, and a lot more in the current regime. But I'm still fighting the good fight for getting young people to think, and I want to share some of the research about why that's important and who else is saying that's important and how we should get young people thinking. Let's go straight in with a thunk. We're going to come back to thunks in a little while, but let's just go straight in with a thunk that's relevant to the things we're talking about today, relevant to the society that we're dealing with in the 21st century. This is a true story, true photo. It's a robot waiter in, I think it's in China. And the answer is, with a thunk, we'll come back to this, but it's yes, no, or other. So I'm going to give you just 1 minute in the chat box. Should you say thank you to a robot waiter? Yes, no, other. This is a quote from a guy called Niels Bohr. He was a Nobel Prize winning scientist, Danish guy. And he famously said to his students at one point, no, you're not thinking, you're just being logical. And we tend to, if we're not careful, we tend to associate thinking with the process by which we move from A to B to C in a logical order and come to a conclusion. That's thinking. There's a place for that sort of thinking. But is that really thinking? How deep is that thinking? How taxing is that thinking? Are we just going through, a bit like the robot waiter, a program? And are we programming children in schools in order to think certain things? Now, yeah, we need to get them to memorize stuff, to learn skills, to learn knowledge, to be able to pass exams. There's a place for that, effectively, that version of programming. But if that's all our education is doing, then we need to think about whether we're happy with that, and whether outside of the education system, having children and young people who can think logically is enough. I've learned one thing about that door, is that if I push the right-hand door, it opens. Because I succeeded straight away in getting through the door, I've learned very little about the door. If I'd have failed to get through the door, if I'd have, say, pulled it towards me and it didn't open, and then pushed it, I would have learned two things about the door. And I still know nothing about the left-hand side of the door. So by logically and efficiently programming children to get to the right answer, the answer that we were expecting, the answer that's quite often in the teacher's head, or is in the back of the book, or on the test paper, or in the exam, or on the syllabus, we're doing part of the job, and it can look like we're doing a really good job because you ask questions and the children get the right answers and we can move on. But it's a very shallow version of, I claim, of what an education system could really be about. You're not thinking, you're just teaching them to be logical. So what are the children learning in your classrooms by the way that they are being taught? Whereas maybe in a less efficient way, maybe, when they're working more in group work and teamwork, and they're failing more, and they're developing leadership skills, and they're developing their resilience, and maybe you're not quite as quick to get the high marks. Maybe you don't get as high a mark. Maybe you don't get as good an Ofsted. Maybe you do, but doing it in a different way. But maybe there are all these other things that they're picking up about failure and resilience and working together and working as a team and not getting your own way all the time, and being sociable and taking risks and being brave and picking yourselves up when things don't work out, and tinkering and trial and error and all the things that we know are so vital. Maybe those are the things that they're picking up when we work in a slightly different way. You recognize this list? It's all the rage at the moment. It's been around for quite a while, but there are people out there, repackaging and making a lot of money from this at the moment. It's Baruch Rosenshine's Principles of Instruction. Now, they're very good. You do those things to a compliant audience and learning will happen. So it's good, it's neurologically sound, it's sociologically sound, it works. So what I would suggest is, though, that isn't where you start and it isn't where you stop. So it isn't where you start. To what extent are you building relationships the minute the children come through the door? How are you getting their brains limbered up in the way we talked about before with those the creative thinking questions that I gave you, all those different tasks that we had right at the very beginning. Are you smiling when they come to the door? Are you doing the handshake thing or the elbow thing when it was appropriate to do? What's your equivalent now? How are you getting them in the right state for learning? And of all the research that I've done over the last 20, maybe 30 years looking at this stuff, over and over again, it comes back to the neurological state that we're in that will determine how well we learn at any given time. So the look on our faces and our breathing and our sense of anticipation and our curiosity and our feeling relaxed but excited, all of those, having a positive relationship with the adult in the room and then the other children in the room, all of those things will decide how well, or will impact how well your Rosenshine's principles of instruction will work.